Over the last 15 years, I went from this, recording podcasts in my bedroom closet, to this, speaking at podcast conferences and working as a creator in podcast and video full-time. Podcast went from something I love listening to me actually making it my career. And so I don't think it's an exaggeration to say podcasting literally changed my life. Here's what happened. Podcast really hit the public in 2005 when Steve Jobs announced the iPod and podcast in iTunes. It was like radio you can listen to whenever you want. And it took me a couple months to actually try it. I found techie shows that I love listening to like MacBreak Weekly and Twit. I found productivity podcasts called Back to Work. And I quickly went from loving listening to podcasts to wanting to make them. So my first solo podcast that I made over a decade ago was this, The Tech Tailor, Finding Technology That Fits You. I thought that was a pretty good name at the time. And back then, there were not great tools for recording or hosting your podcast. And it took literally editing an XML feed manually, copy and pasting some code, and then uploading that to a web server. I feel old. Now that solo podcast didn't get a lot of listens, but shortly after, I started writing on the side for Apple Insider. I was doing Apple reviews, tech how-to and tutorial articles, and at the time, they didn't have a podcast. So 10 years ago, in January 2015, I said, let me try starting a podcast for Apple Insider. You can still listen to the very first episode of that show. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. And you'll hear what I sounded like 10 plus years ago. Now, back then, recording a podcast with someone who was remote was also a chore. Real ones remember using Skype to actually talk to someone remotely, but then recording either locally on your computer or trying to use something like Call Recorder with Skype. Crazy that Skype doesn't even exist anymore, but it was a challenge. And once I figured out how to really do it well, I started another podcast called Movies on the Side, which is still going. That started in 2018. That's over 7 years ago, and this was still largely just a hobby. But because I love podcasting so much, I just kept doing it. Then 2020 happened. It was the pandemic, but also the Apple Insider podcast was getting more sponsors, and I really wanted to try my hand at YouTube. So here, which is my very first YouTube video ever, which was published November 2020, I started my YouTube journey while still doing podcasts. Now around that same time, I actually started a second show with Apple Insider called HomeKit Insider, and this one, we did video. Since the days of using Skype and Call Recorder, new tools had come like Riverside that lets you record video and audio easily. And so we started doing video every week for HomeKit Insider. And so that audience started growing for HomeKit Insider. I was still doing Apple Insider, also using Riverside to record. And while I wasn't making a ton of videos, I was slowly trying to add more and more videos to my personal YouTube channel to grow that as well. And of course, one of the things I talked about was podcasting. Here's another one of my early videos talking about the best mics for podcasting. That's still one of my favorite USB mics and it was just discontinued. But if you're getting into podcasting now and you're looking for the best value USB mics, I did a whole video on that. You can see it above and I'll link it down in the description. But as I was doing podcasts for Apple Insider, trying to make more videos on my YouTube channel, I wanted to move my career into podcasting and video as a whole. So I started the job hunt looking for remote jobs in that area. And lo and behold, the tool I had been using for years to record Apple Insider and HomeKit Insider was looking for a video producer, Riverside. So in 2022, over 3 years ago, I joined Riverside and started making videos about podcasting and video. Honestly, it seemed pretty serendipitous. The thing I'd been passionate about for over a decade and now trying to move into video, I was able to combine the two things that I loved and do it for my work. So here on the Riverside channel, I get to talk about building a home studio, cameras, microphones, and how to grow and monetize your podcast, which you're on the Riverside channel right now. So you should subscribe and hit that like button, because if you're trying to grow your YouTube channel or your podcast, that's what we help you do right here. And once I started making videos for the Riverside YouTube channel, I started to understand more how YouTube works, how to package your content, make better thumbnails and titles. And taking what I learned back to my personal channel, I've now been able to grow to over 158,000 subscribers in about 3 years. And while that might not get millions and millions of views per month, there's actually a huge opportunity to make a creator business out of a channel that size. And I actually talk about that in a recent video here on the YouTube channel. And so I'll link this video above as well, but all the different ways that you can earn on YouTube, not just from ads, but from direct member support, communities, affiliates, and more. Then a little over a year ago, I wanted to break out and do my own tech podcast with video, something that I could call my own. And that's what Primary Technology is. And in just over a year and a half, we have almost 3,000 subscribers, and we post a new video episode every week. And the only way we could sustain that is with Riverside. Every week I record with Riverside, I edit, AI tools to remove silences and filler words, makes it super fast to get it all put together. And I go from recording to publishing a new video episode and audio in just about 2 to 3 hours. If you want to see my whole process for creating a podcast episode today, I also did a video on that. I'll link it up here. And not only am I able to make content that I love making, but I've had the opportunity to speak at PodFest and Podcast Movement. Just recently, I spoke on 3 panels and did a solo talk at Podcast Movement in Dallas, sharing what I've learned about YouTube and podcasting, using tools like Riverside to record. So it's definitely not an exaggeration to say that after 15 years, going from this to this, podcasting has literally changed my life. So if you have any questions on how to start a podcast or YouTube channel, or maybe you're trying to grow your audience, let me know down in the comments. I'll also put a video right up here where I talk about podcasting from beginning to end. It's over an hour long. It is a masterclass that's totally for free right here on YouTube. I walk through choosing your niche, branding your podcast, editing, and where to publish and promote your show. Or if you're trying to monetize your podcast specifically, I'll put a video right here where I talk about how I offer bonus content just to paying members, how to create a community where people want to join and interact with you, and more. Thanks for watching. We can't wait to see the podcasts and videos you create.